this hour on VTV News, National Assembly Deputy discussed draft revised notary law. Vietnamese Prime Minister delivers keynote speech at WEF meeting. In war news, Russia vows respond to new EU sanctions.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Hello, it's 3 p.m. local time in Hanoi. You're watching VTV News. Continuing the 7th session, the National Assembly held a plenary session on Tuesday morning to give feedback on the draft revised notary law. More to follow.
At the session, several National Assembly deputies proposed considering regulations on the notary office's organizational model, which must have 2 members. This regulation is difficult to deploy in certain localities.
It's necessary to consider the type of notary practice organization. A notary office must have at least 2 notaries, but I believe only remote areas need 1 notary.
Some deputies suggested that the draft law should include more detailed regulations on notarizing electronic documents in the technology era and remove the age limit of 70 for notaries.
There are no specific regulations on the recognition of electronic documents as a basis for notarization or on copying content from electronic copies to paper copies and vice versa. We recommend that the drafting agency carefully research this issue to find a comprehensive solution.
No assessment indicate that notaries over 70 years old lack the health and intelligence to practice notarization. They have extensive experience and skills. I propose amending and supplementing the law with no age limit.
Previously, the National Assembly passed the resolution approving the instrument of accession to the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership (CPTPP) of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
Prime Minister Phie on Tuesday morning gave an important speech at the opening plenary of the 15th World Economic Forum WEF annual meeting of the new champions in Dalian City, China, along with Chinese Premier Li Qiang and Polish President Andrzej Duda. More to follow.
Speaking at the opening plenary, Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh shared his profound comments on 5 characteristics of the current world along with 3 key factors and 3 pioneering fields shaping the future. The Prime Minister emphasized that these are breakthrough factors, opening up new development spaces, creating unlimited resources, and are the shortest path for rapid, sustainable growth. The Prime Minister emphasized that the country's success over the past 40 years is associated with the keywords, innovation, creativity, and integration, thanks to the development policies and viewpoints of the party in the state of Vietnam. With a nod to this year's theme, New Growth Horizons, the Prime Minister asked the WEF and its partners to promote public-private cooperation and take the lead in the development and economic restructuring process worldwide, especially in 3 important areas. Firstly, it is important to properly build market economic institutions, especially mobilizing and effectively using all resources to improve national governance efficiency. Secondly, there was a requirement to focus on developing strategic infrastructure systems, notably transportation and digital infrastructure, climate change response, social infrastructure, healthcare, and education. Third, there was the need to train and develop human resources, especially a high-quality workforce for the digital, green, and circular economy.
Prime Minister Pham Minh had just signed and issued Directive 19 on strengthening fire prevention and fighting for multi-story, multi-apartment and individuals' houses combined with production and business. proactively prevent, contain, and minimize damage, the Prime Minister requests the Ministry of Public Security be tasked with researching, reviewing, and supplementing specific regulations in the draft law on fire prevention, fighting, rescue, and relief on fire prevention and fighting. These should focus on safety regulations for dual-purpose accommodation. The Ministry of Construction is to preside over developing and promulgating urgent technical guidance to strengthen fire prevention and firefighting safety. The Ministry of Industry and Trade urgently completed the electricity law to submit to the National Assembly for comment at the 8th session. 22 commercial banks have increased their saving interest rate since the beginning of June, and there has been a reappearance of interest rate above 6% per year for many long-term deposits. Currently, the highest mobilization interest rate on the market is 6.1% per year, and it is applied at NCB, Ocean Bank, HD Bank with terms of 18 months or more. Listed at 6% per year are HD Bank 15-month term and OCB 36-month term. Many banks apply interest rate for long-term 24 months or more, close to the 5.8% to 6% per year threshold. Meanwhile, most banks list interest rate from 5% per year for 12 months or more mobilization terms. The State Bank of Vietnam has issued Circular 06 extending Circular 02 on rescheduling debt payments and maintaining debt groups for an additional 6 months. The new regulations allow this extension to run until the end of 2024 rather than terminating on June 30th. This move aims to alleviate difficulties in debt payments and facilitate access to loans with guaranteed credit portfolios.
By the end of May, over 271,000 customers had their debt repayment terms restructured and retained the same debt group. SBV holds that the total value of principal and restructured interest is close to $9 billion.
We regularly reassess customers' operational status and revenue sources from business activities. This is to adjust repayment terms and amounts to align with their financial capacity.
This approach not only helps individuals and businesses adjust their debt repayment but also prevents their loans from being classified as bad debt. Consequently, they can maintain their credit scores and qualify for new loans from other credit institutions with low lending interest rates.
For individual customers, the lending rate is 6% or higher, and 6.5% for corporate customers. This allows for access to affordable capital sources and helps businesses recover and grow.
For credit institutions, Circular 02 mandates the determination of specific provisions for the entire outstanding debt of customers. It also requires full additional provisions by the end of the year.
Banks also encouraged to restructure input sources to minimize costs, thereby maintaining low output interest rates. Healthy bank growth generates good profits, improving the bad debt coverage ratio.
By the end of the first quarter, the bad debt ratio across the banking industry was 2.18%, below the acceptable 3%. As Circular 02 is extended and credit is promoted in the later half of this year, the dual goals of supporting business recovery and reducing bad debt pressure on the banking system is within sight.
In the first half of this year, Vietnam's total trade turnover of goods is estimated to be close to $370 billion, marking a 16% increase over the same period last year. Trade balance remained positive with an estimated surplus of $8.4 billion. This achievement is notable in the context of significant market fluctuations, demonstrating the resilience of Vietnam's export enterprises.
Garment businesses have seen a surge in orders, with demand projected to stay strong until the year's end. This influx allows for greater flexibility in their production plans.
We've successfully fulfilled orders in as little as 10 days. We've earned customer trust for our quick delivery capabilities.
However, securing long-term, stable contracts, particularly with major brands, remains challenging. Industry associations report a sharp increase in businesses shifting from outsourced production to developing their own products. This strategy enables better long-term planning and helps mitigate market risks.
We are now compelled to enhance our workload, deepen customer relationships, and develop comprehensive product and supply chain management capabilities.
Exports in the first 6 months of the year are estimated at $198 billion, a 13.8% year-on-year. It demonstrates the efforts of both businesses and management agencies. Despite inflation and exchange rate pressures in many markets, Vietnamese goods secured an evolving presence in major markets.
Vietnam's exports to the U.S. rose by 22.4%, accounting for 30% of the country's total export turnover. This growth rate surpasses the average of 15%. Vietnam continues to lead among ASEAN countries, contributing over 33% of ASEAN's total export turnover.
Positive market signals are encouraging businesses to increase imports of raw and auxiliary materials for production. Support policies regarding capital, interest rates, taxes, and fees are now more crucial than ever to help businesses capitalize on growth opportunities until the end of the year.
In a telegram on strengthening price management and control measures, Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh requested ministry branches in locality to continue closely monitoring market developments and avoid goods shortages, hoarding, speculation, and unreasonable price increases. Therefore, Ho Chi Minh City has required businesses and traditional market traders to strengthen price control, plan to reserve goods, and stabilize the consumer goods market until the end of the year. This is also a way to stabilize the market and help consumers buy goods at affordable prices.
Ho Chi Minh City's Department of Industry and Trade states that the Market Stabilization Program is the most effective tool in controlling prices. It contributed to the May CPI increasing by only 0.15% and the 5-month cumulative increase of 3.24% over the same period, which is lower than the national average. This tool will continue to be promoted in the second half of the year.
The market can now maintain good prices and quality, thus attracting more consumers. I could always buy groceries for the entire week.
Although pig prices fluctuate daily, businesses still keep the selling price 5 to 10% lower than the market price at $2.6 per kilogram.
We will continue to review costs to adhere to a certain budget and work with input partners to ensure stable prices. With these budgets, we plan to invest in promotions.
Meanwhile, rice businesses have proactively increased their reserves by 4 to 5 times compared to the same time last year. In addition to businesses, traditional markets in the Ho Chi Minh City are also strengthening control of prices and quality, as well as weighing and listing prices.
Businesses with stable sales will follow the market stabilization program. For other items, trade publicizes the selling price with the participation of market and local management boards.
The first phase of Ho Chi Minh City's centralized promotion program officially kicks off in mid-September. 10 to 15 promotional events will be held in various locations to help consumers shop for goods at preferential prices.
And before moving on to some other news, let's take a look at foreign exchange rate for today, June 25th. Coming up next on VTV News, localities temporarily halt issuing ID cards until July. And see Mackay White Horse Heart made for sustainable livelihood. Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, and many other localities have temporarily stopped accepting application for citizen identification cards until the end of June. This temporary suspension is to allow for the issuing of new ID cards to citizens ordered by the new identification law, which will take effect from July 1st this year. The Ministry of Public Security requires that from July 1st, local police resume issuing identification cards in their areas. Those who have been issued chip-embedded identification cards can still use them normally and do not need to renew them. The north and north-central regions are experiencing heavy rains. Some localities have seen localized flooding and landslides on some roads. In Lào Cai, heavy rain has caused deep flooding on National Highway 4D through Dong Tuyển commune, Lào Cai City, disrupting traffic. Landslides are still occurring on provincial roads 157, 154, and 156. 3 landslides have blocked traffic on provincial road 159 in Bắc Kẹ village, Bản Liền commune, Bắc Hà district. Cars cannot still pass through, and motorbikes have difficulties navigating past the landslides. Heavy rain is forecast to continue today until Wednesday morning in the north and Thanh Hóa to Hà Tĩnh, with 30 to 80 millimeters of rainfall. There is a possibility of flood on the rivers in the north. Water levels on the small streams and upstream of Thao, Chảy, and Low rivers are forecast to rise to alert level 1 or above. Road users are advised to expect flooding in low-lying areas beside rivers. In the Simacai district of Lào Cai province, the cherished traditions of raising white horses has dwindled over the past decades. This decline is largely due to young residents migrating for work, leaving no one to tend to the herd. However, a promising new initiative led by the local border guard has sought to reserve this trend by reintroducing white horse rearing as a sustainable economic model.
The Simacai border guards have cultivated elephant grass, the primary feed for the station's white horses. The herd has grown to 9 in 5 years.
Raising these horses is relatively low cost, as they primarily feed on local grown elephant grass, occasionally supplemented with bran.
Proper care in a shelter environment has allowed the horses to grow and reproduce effectively. An adult white horse fetches over $7,800, while stallions are valued at around $1,100. The horses can be sold after 2 years, offering substantial financial returns. Despite the economic benefits, the primary aim of the border guards is to provide a successful livelihood template for the local community.
We raise them so that people can see that Simacai can still raise white horses. The horses grow well, are healthy, and reproduce regularly. They are very popular and can be sold at very good prices.
The Simacai district has given 10 white horses to farming families to bolster local livelihoods further. This initiative seeks to create new income opportunities for border area residents and provide them with a steady and sustainable source of revenue.
For over 30 years, a Hanoi school named after a flower has provided free vocational training to thousands of young students in difficult circumstances. Thanks to the Hoa Sữa School for Tourism Economics, many have become successful business owners, restaurant owners, and bakery owners. More to follow.
This is Giang Thị Thư, a 19-year-old Hmong ethnic woman from Lào Cai province. She dreamt of owning a bakery to offer fine pastries to people in her community. She believed she could never pursue her dream because of her family's disadvantaged background. Not until that is, she was offered a chance to turn her life around.
At this school, we don't have to pay tuition and are even provided free meals and accommodation. Someone I know spoke highly of this school staff's instructors, so I decided to enroll.
Thu was one of the many ethnic students, children from disadvantaged backgrounds, and children under social protection programs who were offered free vocational training at this school.
We are currently enrolling students aged 15 or above. Our mission is to provide training tailored to one profession so that students can fend for themselves and provide for their families.
In this Asian cooking class, the most unexpected things can become everyday norms.
I've never seen or heard of this ingredient. Now I know its chives.
Sometimes I would find myself losing motivations because my students fail to memorize my instructions. However, I will keep pursuing this job out of love and compassion for them.
For 30 years, generations of students have graduated from the VOWS School for Tourism Economics and become respectable citizens.
Now let's admire the beauty of terrace fields in Hoangsu, Phie, Hà Giang province in the pouring water season. Terrace fields are a typical forms of farming for ethnic groups, and they are associated with the history of each ethnic group living in the northern mountainous region. The terraces are the result of the ethnic community hard work, the accumulation of experience and creativity in bringing wet rice cultivations to the high mountains. Terrace fields in the rice planting season, also known as the pouring water season, have been and are one of the unique tourism magnets for the Hoangsu, Phie district. For generations, the Mông, Giao, Nung, Tai, and La Chi ethnic groups in the Hoangsu, Phie district have labored to create terrace fields masterpieces that look like idyllic landscape paintings. Coming up next in One News, Russia vows to respond to new EU sanctions. And Germany eyes boost in tourism revenue during UEFA Euro 2024. Russia Foreign Ministry reacted to a fresh wave of European Union sanctions on Monday, saying any unfriendly Western actions would be met with the necessary response. The ministry called the sanction illegally and said it has significantly expanded its block list of people barred from entering Russia. It provided no further details. Earlier, EU countries adopted a 14 package of sanctions on Russia. This aimed to close some loopholes and hit Russia gas export for the first time. Japan Ministry of Finance warned that authorities should stand ready to intervene in foreign exchange markets 24 hours a day if necessary. The warning was issued as the yen hit a 34-year low against the dollar at 160 yen per dollar. Vice Finance Minister Masato Kanda said the ministry is prepared to take appropriate action against excessive fluctuations in exchange rates. Japan has acknowledged that it spent $61.3 billion intervening in currency markets during the period from April 26 to May 29. The yen continues to decline against the dollar as the U.S. Purchasing Managers Index data was stronger than expected, and the Bank of Japan had not announced a detailed plan around its reductions of bond purchases. Germany, the host of the UEFA European Football Championship this year, is targeting a boost in tourism revenue during the tournament. Around 3 million fans will visit the 10 German host cities for the 2024 Euros, which is anticipated to generate substantial economic benefits for the country. The German Retail Federation estimates $4 billion in additional food, drinking, and accommodation sales. In addition, the German Tourism Association said the Euro 2024 is more than a major sport event. It is also an opportunity for Germany as a hospitable travel destination to revive its tourism. Scientists in Bolivia are hoping to track glacial changes at lightning speed. New scientific equipment being installed at the country's Huayna Potosi Peak aims to provide real-time measurements of glacial mass compared to much lower-order methods. More to follow.
The equipment can make hourly measurements of glacial mass compared to classic glacial methods that could take reading monthly or yearly. The measurements could help scientists measure how much life is still left for a glacier. This is critical for human efforts to match the pace of climate change.
In the science of climate change, we know what is happening, and we have known that for some decades now, and I think the information is out there, but still we are not taking the decisions at the pace that is needed for the changes.
Glaciers play a significant role when it comes to water supply across the Andes, with studies showing that glaciers provide around 27% of Bolivia's Cordillera Reals water in the dry season.
You can't take measures or prepare yourself for the future if you don't know where you are. It's even more important to know the situation, the baseline. And from the baseline you can then take actions. You can improve your reservoir capacity, you can make sure as well that the water demand is of course adjusted.
Extreme weather events like heat waves and droughts have put stress on water supplies throughout South America, making more accurate glacier measurements a critical tool.
And now, as usual, let's continue with the weather forecast. And that's all the news for today. To rewatch our program, you can log on to VTVgo.vn or download our mobile application VTVgo. Thanks for watching and goodbye for now.